we knew that they couldn't hang with us. We did what we had to do. Sometimes your little brother starts acting up, and you just got to put him in place.
Apparently, Coach D'Antonio was 5 yards behind it, all smiling. So, yeah, I think it's Bush League. That's my impression of it.
I was curious if you had any reaction to that. I'm sorry?
You heard me. That's BS.
Lawrence, another deep strike and a catch and a touchdown for T. Higgins.
I think that our team grew up a little bit. It's a heck of a team in NC State and a big win for us.
It is intercepted. Bailey, the other way. Marcus Bailey punctuates this upset with a pick six. It's the perfect ending for Purdue on a storybook night.
We are Tyler Strong, so you continue to be Tyler Strong.
What a weekend it was in Week 8. This is the Monday edition of College Football Live. Greg McElroy, Joey Galloway. I'm Matt Schick. We begin the Monday edition the same way we always do, with one person on your television screen following the dress code and with your most impressive performance of the week. GMAC, where are you going?
Oh, I got to go to Clemson. How about the performance from young Trevor Lawrence? True freshman, only starting his third game, went out there and threw the ball as efficiently as he did at any point in the season. Very accurate on the downfield throws, had nice one-on-ones. The running game was good. And how about that defense, guys? Beating and shutting down a previously unbeaten NC State football team.
Hey, Matt, I know you worked with Greg before. Was there any chance that he was going to come in and admit that Purdue was the best performance of the weekend?
No way.
Always tries to go off radar and find another performance. But what Purdue did against Ohio State and the way they did it wasn't like they kicked the last-second field goal. They blew them out. Purdue by far most impressive.
I'm going to go to Saturday morning, what we saw from Washington State and the fans there. I know the game day set is long gone. I don't think the fans have left. Anywhere between 20,000 and 11 billion fans on hand outside of Washington State. They stole the show during the show. Time for this show, College Football Live.
Welcome to College Football Live, presented by ZipRecruiter.
Let's take a look at this week's college football rankings presented by Northwestern Mutual. Everyone from Clemson to Oklahoma moved up a slot. You see Florida now into the top 10 after their dominating performance over the bye week. Ohio State is your big tumbler of the week from 2 outside the top 10, sitting at number 11 in the latest AP poll. Let's discuss winners and losers. Let's start with the latter and Ohio State. Joey, we'll start with your Buckeyes. What went wrong for them against Purdue?
A little bit of everything, honestly. And this is the first time we've seen all season where everything went wrong. This defense has been an issue. From the beginning of the season, Oregon State scored 31 points in Columbus to begin this season. So it's been the big play and giving up points that were the concern. But usually they find a way to make a play defensively that either score a touchdown or set them up for a touchdown. This is the first time the defense gave up their points, but the offense was also off and not able to pass them and get a lot of points to win football games.
Well, this was a really bad matchup for Ohio State. One, if you look at Purdue, they're not very big, but what they are is extremely fast. Ohio State, at times, struggled against TCU, and they used kind of a similar game plan on Saturday, going sideline to sideline, creating matchups for Rondale Moore, who won in man coverage over and over and over again. And then Ohio State offensively, they became one-dimensional. They couldn't run the football. And I know the situation dictated that they had to throw the ball 73 times, but if J.K. Dobbins and those running backs don't get their opportunities and touches, they're going to really struggle to be efficient in the red zone. So they got a lot of things to figure out in the weeks to come.
GMAC, we've seen this script before with Ohio State. Every year, the last few years, there's been a game like this where they've got the most talent, you'd think, right on the field, but then they lay an egg. What's going on here?
Yeah, dare we go one step further and say that Clemsoning is now Ohio Stating? Are we allowed to say that? I really will. Let's go back to Buckeying. 2015, the most talented team in college football. They lose to Michigan State with a backup quarterback. 2016, they lose by 31 at the hands of Clemson in the college football playoff when they were put in as a one-loss non-conference champion. The next year, they go to Iowa. They lose by 31 yet again, absolutely blown off the field. And then finally, this upcoming season, this past Saturday, They lose by 29 on the road at a team that is significantly worse than them from a depth and a talent standpoint. Dare I say it, Joey, that Ohio State has now taken the banner of laying gigantic eggs in the middle of the season against teams they should hang with.
Well, I wouldn't call it Clemsoning. It is something else. We got to call it something else because you're right. They don't just lose the close upset. I mean, they really go in and look like the other team just has more talent. Iowa just looked like they had more talent than Ohio State, which we know is not the case. And you mentioned the speed of Purdue. If you were to line up the entire Purdue campus and had a foot race against the Ohio State football team, you're not going to find many people faster on the Purdue campus than you would find on the Ohio State football team. And so they get into these situations where, you're right, it looked like Purdue was just flat out faster. But we all know that's not the case. Have to fix what's going on, but this defensive issue has been a problem all season long.
Yeah, we'll see what they can fix, how much you can fix in the middle of a season. Bye week coming up, then they got a game against Nebraska. All right, obviously Ohio State, their perfect season, big loser from the weekend. Big winner, though, got to be one-loss teams here trying to work their way into the college football playoff. Joey, who takes advantage? Who does this benefit, that Ohio State loss?
It benefits the Big 12 as a conference now. And we were having conversations if these teams run the table. Me being the idiot that always jumps in and believes that everyone's going undefeated. I say it every year, and it never happens, but I take the bait. And so as teams start to lose that were undefeated, the Big 12 is saying, hey, Oklahoma's sitting there with one loss to a Texas team. Texas has one loss. And if they can both win out playing the championship game in the Big 12, the door is wide open now for one of those teams to get into the playoff.
Yeah, I'm with you. Those one-loss teams from the Big 12 certainly benefit. The Pac-12's playoff hopes are hanging on by a thread, but they are, in fact, alive with the loss by Ohio State. Michigan is another obvious team that kind of jumps to the forefront as you're thinking about who could potentially win the Big Ten. Michigan looks more complete than Ohio State right now, and Michigan controlled their own destiny to begin with. But, man, right now, if they were to play on a neutral field, I'm taking Michigan, especially with the way that defense is playing and that offense, slowly but surely, is starting to come along. Another team that really standed to benefit from Ohio State losing, how about Notre Dame, guys? Now, they could potentially lose one at Northwestern or at USC and still get in to the college football playoff. Whereas a week ago, we're all sitting there saying and thinking, if Notre Dame loses a game, they're out. That might not be the case anymore.
Yeah, they're done.
Hey, Schick, come on. I expect you to take better control of Greg than this. Notre Dame is done if they lose.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I agree. No, we know it's 2-1. They would be out. I will say though, in terms of a loser for the Big Ten, how about the Big Ten, where they were hoping Ohio State, Michigan, kind of a play-in game. You win the Big Ten championship, you're automatically in. Now that could be somewhat of an elimination game there with Ohio State and Michigan. So we shall see. There was another. Speaking of the Big Ten, a loser from the weekend. How about pleasantries and pregame pleasantries? Michigan State doing their pregame walk, and Devin Bush got wrapped up in it. It turned into the most awkward game of Red Rover you'll ever see in your life. Afterwards, you had D'Antonio and Jim Harbaugh going tit for tat in their postgame news conference. Who's to blame here, Devin Bush or Michigan State here, G-Mac?
I got to go with Devin Bush. I know that I look at Michigan State, and is it kind of hokey to walk 100 yards down the field? Yeah. Did they clearly do something to Devin Bush that frustrated him? But I don't care what it is. You never disrespect another team's home field. You just don't do it. You don't go to midfield. You don't desecrate the logo. You just don't do that. And I appreciate very much that this game is fiery and spirited, and these teams don't like each other. Games like this are what make college football amazing. But it's just, there's never a place to go to midfield of your opposition and to disrespect the logo in midfield. I'm not good with that ever.
Each team has rights to one side of the field. Devin Bush is across the 50-yard line, and that's where he's wrong. Now, anything he does on the Michigan 50 yards of the field, hey, so be it. But when your team is walking out and you're on their side of the 50, you are completely wrong. And it is actually, I give Michigan State some credit here for this not going worse than it did, honestly. Yeah. Devin Bush is out there with no helmet, Michigan State players have their helmets on, which is always a disadvantage if you're talking about a football fight, is to have your helmet on because nobody gets hurt. So I give them credit for absolutely not going at him with no helmet on, but he's on the wrong side of the 50.
Yeah, and he was slightly outnumbered there. I mean, that could have been bad there with Devin Bush.
Have you seen Devin Bush play football? I don't think it matters. You might have taken all 100 of those guys, and he might still have a chance.
There would have certainly been more of a contest with him involved. How about in terms of winners and losers? How about a winner? Redemption. Butch Jones, who cares if he was 0-5 against Alabama? He's smoking the post-game stogie after beating his former employer. His former employer, by the way, Joey's paying him $200,000 a month. This is great.
This one made me laugh. I really got a good laugh on this one because honestly, it's like, man, I could not beat you guys when I was on that other sideline. So I sort of know how Jeremy Pruitt feels, but doggone it, I'm finally in the winning locker room. And hey, this is what it feels like after this Tennessee-Alabama game, huh? This is what you guys have been doing over here. I can't wait to join in some of the fun.
Yeah, when in Rome, right? I mean, if you do as the Romans do. I mean, if you're going to celebrate with victory cigars, you might as well do so in style. And you guys were all busy looking at the cigar. I'm looking at the watch that he's wearing because that looked like a presidential Rolex. I'm not 100% sure, but clearly that $250,000 that Tennessee is paying him on a monthly basis is going towards good use. I mean, that is a good-looking piece of bling right there on his left wrist.
Being paid to help by the team that you helped beat, I mean, it's just peak college football. Just so good. Congratulations to Butch Jones, the player said for Alabama. They were trying all week. They thought about that all week, letting him smoke that victory cigar, and it was not very close because Alabama was involved. We are just getting started here on College Football Live. Time for word association when we return. We'll see how good the penmanship is and what wordsmith Joey Galloway has this week.
I'm going with bedraggled. And yes, I had to dig deep for that one. Bedraggled. Exactly. The field looked bedraggled. The players looked bedraggled. Hey, I went to The Ohio State University. Hey, we are an educational institution. We get in our books. Bedraggled is a word that describes everything we saw during this game.
Oh, I remain befuddled. After
I was
that.
going to write bedraggled.
Yeah. Wow.
I was going to write bedraggled. I don't know how to spell it.
I guarantee Greg tries to go deep right now. Greg is trying to go really deep right now after that performance.
He's going all Boulder Dash. Boulder Dash.
College Football Live is presented by ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And in part by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem.
Time for ExxonMobil's Unexpected Energy. Washington State found it in the win over Oregon with a little dose of swinging gait. Snap to running back James Williams. The formation was not even the most amazing part. Look at him. Bouncing off of tacklers, Cougars get the win over the Ducks. Time now for word association, a test of mental quickness, spelling, and most importantly, penmanship. What word comes to mind when you see that trick play for Washington State? Hold up what you got here, guys. What do you have? What's your word? WD-40 and Bush League. No, that's the wrong segment, Joey. We talked about the Michigan State thing earlier. Why is it Bush League?
And I'm not even talking about the play. I'm talking about the tackling. Greg, you've been there before. Is there anything worse when you line up for a trick play, you look across and the defense hasn't taken the bait, and they're out there and they're ready? Well, Oregon's ready, and it's just Bush League tackling is the only reason this worked.
Someone needs to check James Williams' jersey. I think there's WD-40. He couldn't get a hold of him. The guy was so slippery. He was run all over the place, and it was unbelievable. This guy actually is sneaky good, not only as just a running back, but as a pass catcher as well. James Williams, one of the more underrated running backs in the Pac-12.
Very good. All right, let's go to a coach who used to coach in the Pac-12, was an assistant at Oregon, went to UCF, now at Nebraska, and it took him 7 tries, but he got his first win. He's 1-6, but Scott Frost, Gatorade shower after the win over Minnesota. What's the word or phrase that comes to mind when I describe that? Gatorade shower with the first win. Liberation and Greg Shapiro, who is the producer of this program. You're good with the one word. You're using two words the whole time, Joey. What's happening here?
Yeah, I'm going one person. Greg Shapiro went to George Washington University, where they don't play football. But if they did and they got a win, I expect them to do the Gatorade shower over the coach. This is Nebraska. Even Scott Frost felt a little uneasy about the Gatorade shower. He's like, yeah, we'll get to a point where we don't do this after one win.
Well, I can tell you this.
Liberation.
Liberation. He's free. He's free from no-win purgatory. He has finally seen the light. And guess what, guys? They're going to win again this week. And I don't think they'll win in 2 weeks when the Buckeyes come to town. But it's okay. They're going to have a win streak going into that one.
Yeah. Bethune-Cookman coming up. Joey Galloway following the rules with one word about as well as he's following the dress code today. All right, let's see if you can follow the rules here. Let's see if you can follow the rules here, Joey. All right, stay with us here. Old Dominion and Western Kentucky. You had Old Dominion essentially getting 3 on-time downs. You see at the end of the game, there was a roughing the passer penalty, so they get to kick the field goal, but then there was 12 men on the field, so they kick it again. And then the second kick was missed, but short. Old Dominion returns it short of the goal line, but then there's a face mask. They boot it for the win. Give me the word or the sentence, Joey, that you think about. Opportunistic, GMAC. I like that in torture. Let's go to GMAC here. Opportunistic.
All right, well, you get 3 chances. The third time has to be a charm, right? And how many times have we seen kickers miss 26, 27, 35-yard field goals as the buzzer's about to sound? So, yeah, if you're going to get 2 free chances, you might as well make it on the third time. And you know what? He did. Good for him.
And my word is torture, which this was torture for Western Kentucky, but even more torture for me and Adnan and Jesse Palmer, who were in studio trying to get this play into college football final. It took us like 30 minutes to get this in. So we were actually being tortured by this play.
Yeah, it took a lot to really explain everything that happened. We're done. Good night, everyone. That's it for College Football Live. Old Dominion, by the way, got to be the best 6-loss team in America. They've beaten Virginia Tech and now Western Kentucky. All right, UCF. Let's stick here. We got Group of 5 action. UCF extending the nation's longest active win streak to 20 without quarterback Mackenzie Milton. Held out of this game. What's the word here? 20 straight wins. Do the last one without Milton. You got nonchalant. I like that. You got Aretha Franklin. Again, a person, not a word. Thank you very much, Joey. Go ahead and explain your word there.
Respect. That's a shocker.
And again, I go with one person, not one word. RESPECT. Respect. Yeah. I respect what UCF is doing and how they're doing it with this win streak.
Very good, very good. You have to pay money for singing that on the air now, which is wonderful. And secondly, I went with nonchalant because I'm not going to learn anything about UCF playing against teams like this. I'm going to learn something about UCF when they're playing against South Florida, when they're playing against Cincinnati, and when they eventually have a chance to play Houston. That's when we will define exactly what UCF season's all about.
All right, guys, give me a word to describe this segment. Please, give me a word to describe this segment that we just did.
I already used torture. I already used torture, but I can't.
You already used it. Re-rack it.
Yeah,
re-rack it.
Yeah, I'll bring torture back.
There it was. Let's take a look at who was smart under pressure, brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Kentucky was smart. They learned from the loss to A&M. Just keep it simple. Hand the ball to Benny Snell. 32 carries, including 10 on a 12-play drive in the fourth quarter that led to his 9th rushing touchdown of the season. The Cats get the win 14-7 over Vanderbilt, control their destiny in the SEC East. Now for this week's Ultimate Performance, presented by BMW, none better than Tyler Trent, the Purdue fan whose amazing story of faith and perseverance in the midst of the ultimate struggle, a fight against terminal cancer, was the backdrop of inspiration for Purdue's upset win over Ohio State.
How do you explain it?
unexplainable. That's Boilermaker spirit right there.
So we're happy to win it for him. We're happy to give him this moment, and I'm glad he predicted it.
He's our captain. He's our MVP, and that was for him. We're praying and playing for him, and I hope we made him proud tonight.
And hopefully, ESPN does us right and puts us at 25. Thanks for leaving your heart out on the field and showing the nation what being a Boilermaker is all
about. G-Mac, just remarkable from the story to the game to the post-game, just incredible.
Amazing. Amazing story of perseverance. Amazing story of the relationship between a student in Tyler Trent and a family that is a college football program. I mean, it was remarkable, and it was so poetic at the end to see everybody rushing the field and celebrating with Tyler and celebrating Tyler himself. Just really, really remarkable stuff, and just such a touching piece that we were able to watch on Saturday morning.
And it really puts things into perspective about what's important as you're playing football. Whether you won or lost that game, whether you're an Ohio State fan or a Purdue fan, you can be a fan of Tyler Trent and be happy for him getting to experience this moment around this team. I love seeing teams rally around someone that is going through something so that they can enjoy that moment. That's very special.
The impact that sports and a team can have on a person and a person can have on a team in that moment, just remarkable. Back Tuesday, 4:30 Eastern on ESPN2, College Football Live.